Hi, I'm Ron Huxley, your trainer on the Trauma-Informed Care Case Management Training. I want to give you a really brief introduction into what we'll be talking about. I hope this time will be both entertaining and educational for you. I always like to focus on the very specific practical tools that will help you in your job. It's not enough just to simply have some good theories, which we may discuss as well, but ultimately, in order for you to do your job more effectively, you need the right tools for the job. I know we've all kind of gone to trainings where it seemed really great and very fun, but then the next day we couldn't remember a single thing of what we learned. In this training, we're going to really try to delve into a true wellness toolbox that you can utilize for yourself and for the clients that you have under your care. We're going to start off by just looking at what is trauma, and particularly what is trauma in your own organization, and take a moment to just think a little bit about what is going on in terms of the day-to-day things that you are seeing. Maybe there's been a real increase in trauma-related symptoms over the last couple of years. I know that I've seen a lot of trauma and anxiety occurring in people in the last few years. A lot of uncertainty still in the future and where we're going into 2023. And so this is going to become an ongoing issue. In truth, it always has been. Trauma has many forms. There are big T traumas with big events that occur in our life, sort of cataclysmic or very intense crisis that we will go through, or our clients have gone through. But there are also a lot of little T traumas. There's the traumas of the everyday events that occur in our lives that create a daily hassle or life struggles. And over time, research has proven that these little traumas can accumulate till they eventually meet a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, as a result of not big events, but little events. For many of our clientele that are going to be suffering both big T and little t traumas, and we want to really take a in-depth look at what is going on and how we can use a trauma lens to better understand the behaviors, the attitudes, the resistance that we're seeing in the individual and families that we're working with. One of the important pieces through all of this is to really understand what suffering is. Because it's not enough to simply understand what's wrong with someone or what happened to them, but we really need to understand what they are hurting from. What is it that's creating the suffering in their lives? We'll take some time to look at the commonality of suffering and how we all, to some degree, are suffering in some way. There's a Eastern principle that says that suffering is defined as getting things in life that you didn't want and wanting things in life you didn't get. It's kind of like Christmas morning when you got pajamas and what you really wanted was the Xbox or the Easy Bake Oven. And the reality is sometimes we get things in life that we just don't want and we don't know how to handle. And the things that we really do want and need, they're just not available to us. How do we manage that suffering? And that's something that we all can relate to, whether or not we are working as a professional or working as an individual. We all can relate on that same level. We're going to be looking at some basic principles from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration that have looked at some trauma-informed care principles, such as the 4 R's, the 3 E's, the 6 key principles. We'll define those things in more detail and how you can actually apply those things with some real definitive tools into your day-to-day practices, providing trauma-informed, sensitive practices with the people you're working with. Over the 30 years that I've been a clinician, I've really had to look at what are some ways to truly help people in the most simplest way possible. If we make this complicated, people aren't going to be able to follow it. I wouldn't, and I doubt that you would. So I'm going to be looking at some of my 3 healing strategies and how we can help people truly heal, not just become functional, not just to reduce symptoms, not just to be able to get them up on their feet and out the door, but really get them to experience true healing. Research is very clear. The recidivism rate for individuals in any kind of social service, nonprofit organization is that if we don't deal with the underlying roots of trauma, then people are just going to go back to doing what they did before. No matter how much we give them, how much support we put in their life, no matter how many resources we throw at them, they will relapse, or they will go back to earlier level of functioning if we don't adequately address that trauma that has caused this problem from the very beginning. So in the 3 healing strategies, we're really going to take a little deeper dive to talk about how to help them calm down, how to increase competencies and capacities, and then finally how to help them deepen some social connections. This is really a bottom-up or an inside-out approach. It's bottom-up, meaning that we are working from the body and what's going on in them individually to the cognitive or the logic areas second. Oftentimes we will do a lot of talk with individuals and a lot of reasoning, a lot of explaining, a lot of educating, and those are all good and necessary. However, if we don't deal with how trauma has impacted the body and that nervous system, it's going to be in a continual hyperactive fight or flight response, and everything we do is just going to fall to the side. We also have to go from an inside-out perspective, meaning we look at the nervous system and then we look at the external support. And we try to marriage the two of those things together so that our clients can have the most healing that is possible to them. Once we do that, then we can look at how to develop competencies and skills, give them new resources, how to connect them with external resources, how to help them cope. And then of course, always our goal is to help deepen social connections. We're also going to look at some of the most exciting research that I have seen, and probably one of the things that you won't find in any other area of trauma-informed care training, and that's looking at the difference between PTSD and PTG, post-traumatic stress disorder, which we all have heard about and know about, and post-traumatic growth. This comes out of the research in the 90s from the positive psychology, and it really explains how do some people bounce back and move forward, becoming resilient through trials and tribulations, through crisis, through traumas. How do they bounce back? How do they excel even, or even grow from this perspective that they've gone through? So we're going to look at some of the research and the different key principles that underline this. I'll have a lot of fun sharing this information with you. We're going to finish the training up with a wellness toolbox. This will be more of an introductory situation, but we'll begin to implement the ideas that we've been talking about into the joy of your own practice. I don't know about you, but I didn't enter the field of social work and therapy as a result of all the money that I would be making. And I doubt that's why you're here too. You're here because you really want to help other people. But if we don't help ourselves, we can't help other people. We're going to look at some common issues behind burnout and secondary trauma or vicarious trauma. We're going to look at the difference between compassion fatigue and compassion satisfaction, helping you get back to the roots of why you do what you do. I can't wait to meet each of you and to talk more through our Zoom training. If you have some questions, be sure to bring them along, and we'll have some time at the end of our training to address some of these issues, particularly maybe even cases that you're having to work with, given the time that's allowed. I look forward to our working together. Thank you.